Top of the afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Check In Tuesday. I hope you're well. I hope you had a chance to kind of ask some of your friends and family how they are. And just trying to add a couple of people here. See if we can get someone, Mr. Alex from Yachty World, to join us. Captain Scott, maybe, Caroline. Who comes along? There's no stress. And most importantly, just always request to join as well. There's a little bit there, request to join. So try that, and then I can see the requests. I've got no requests at the moment, but that's cool. Hello, Ruan. Congratulations on your Yachtmaster Offshore, Senor. I'm very happy to welcome you to the Captain's Club. Yachtmaster Offshore is the first stage for people. Ruan's been an exceptional crew member on Murdy Unbridled, and we're blessed to have him as his first vessel. And he drives the tender perfectly. He's taken leaps and bounds, and I'm really excited about his next journey. Now he's got the certificate and the knowledge. Now we kind of try and develop a little bit further. So feel free to request to join, Ruan. I see Caroline's there. We've had a lot of people. Chris, good to see you again. And we'll see if someone else can join me. If not, I'll roll with it. There's never a stress. But the important thing is on Tuesdays, just make sure you take time to say hello to your fellow crew or colleagues. You don't really have to ask how they are, but sometimes engaging with conversations just about sport, about life, about breaking down boundaries. So it's a space where we can slow down, we can talk honestly, we can engage in conversation that potentially makes a difference. That's kind of the goal of the Tuesday check-in. And it looks like we might have someone who's just joined as well, but maybe my internet or his internet. Hello, Captain Scott.
Hey, how are we doing today, Liam?
Always good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Well,
All's well, man. How are things with you, man?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm really good. It's been a bit of traveling lately, but good to be back towards work mode. And, I've had a bit of time there to regroup and refresh and,
Nice.
looking forward to getting back into it. When are you back at rotation?
December 1st, but I'm about to amp it up on traveling again because I just had a little bit of a break, but tomorrow I'm going to Las Vegas and then for uh, like a private equity event that's wrapped up with Formula One. And then Sunday I'm back. Tuesday I leave to Texas for Thanksgiving, then back Saturday, then Monday straight to the boat, straight to the Caribbean. So,
All right, well, I'm going to start it off, work-life balance. How do you, I guess, there's a lot of topics here we can talk about, but what I've noticed, even just from the quick post, is burnout, crew
yeah,
burnout. That's a big topic right now. And the reason it's a big topic is because it's the cause, in my opinion, the cause from a lack of work-life balance. Does that
yeah, yeah. It definitely makes a lot of sense. I know I'm something I'm always working on
Yeah.
because you know how sometimes we have to get up in the middle of the night and solve problems, and it's same thing as a dad, same thing as a business partner, same thing as everything else. It's just part of it. But one thing that I know has helped me is
Yeah.
uh, is saying no. Like saying no to things, not taking on more than you should.
I just lost you for a second there. Can you hear me, Cap?
Yeah, I can hear you. Did you lose me for a
Just
second?
for a quick check. You said not taking on more than what you should.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily also on the boat. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do, but like if it's say for instance, you're on the boat, you get done with 3 weeks of trips and stuff, and the whole crew's going out, but you're beat tired, and they're gonna go drinking and stuff.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
got the right to say no and just get some sleep or just some you time, take a walk or something, and that helps me a lot, with that. And the the other thing that's really big for me is, and I learned this one kind of the hard way. Everyone's always saying, family first and all this other stuff. But if you're working 18 hours a day, are you really putting the family first?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
You
say
pretend
for
to.
instance, yeah, you know, and it's tough to say that you're doing it to, you know, it's hard not to when you're doing it for your family anyway. But you know, if you're missing a lot of things, as we do sometimes, but you know, what I've learned to do is like, hey, I call the family at certain times, and sometimes the crew knows that that's the time that I'm calling home unless it's an emergency or something, or I let them know,
Yeah.
you know, hey, you know, and I always want to make sure that they do that as well, you know, so, you know, and it's, you know, there's, I know a lot of things are coming in now because we're all over the place, and you know, with the internet and stuff starting to charge, Starlink's starting to do the same kind of thing with the packages where they're
Yeah.
charging you more and you don't have unlimited anymore. And but that's one of the things where there's, you know, if you're calling or talking to your family or whatever, we got plenty of bandwidth for that, you
Yeah, I
know.
mean, like we're talking about now, it's how do you find that balance? And one of the things we're going right into, we talked about burnout, we talked about work-life balance, but it's how do you switch off?
Yeah,
You kind of the first thing you said is it's okay to say no.
yeah,
Correct? The other one for me, there's little physical things like getting out of your work uniform.
yeah, yeah,
And a lot of people go, "Oh, can you be out of your work uniform in the crew mess or in the bow or where?" Ask the questions. Where
yeah,
can you be in your work uniform? Where
yeah,
can you be out? For me, it's I've done this so long that I wake up, I put my uniform on, I go to
yeah.
work, take my uniform off, I go to bed. You know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, that's same,
so I'm not.
same. That's a big one, actually. Uniform. I never really thought about that because a lot of times on the boat, I have a tendency. I'm just always wearing the work uniform or whatever anyway. Because it just, you know, unless I'm getting off the boat for a certain time, you know.
Well,
Greetings, captains.
there's
How
a
are
good
you?
looking
Yes,
man,
sir, Alex.
Alex.
How's it going, guys?
Oh,
Excellent.
great, man.
You've come in with a good question there, Alex. What helps you mentally clock out on board? Do you have a shutdown rituals or hobbies? What's one thing that helps your brain? I'm off duty. So you, if you don't mind me sharing, as a new father, how have you found that balance between work and personal life? How have you switched off?
To be
Good one.
honest, I haven't found a way, so I'm opening this up to the audience. If you guys have found a way, please let me know.
I said to
It's
Captain
tough.
Scott, I wake up, I put my uniform on, I go finish work.
What does it mean, work-life balance? I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure that out.
I
Yeah.
Live to work to live.
Yeah.
I I know I have struggled with this a lot because I have a tendency when I go into something, I go all in, as we probably all do, you know, and I go to completion. And one of those things is just taking a little bit of break or stepping away for a minute. Same thing, you know, like we do on the boat and stuff. Is just sometimes if I'm always okay if somebody says, "Hey, I need a minute. I got something going on," or I need, you know, provided it's there's a time and a place. You know, sometimes you just have to just knuckle down and push through it. But yourself as an entrepreneur and as a dad, you know, the duty calls in both of those, and both of those go together, and we have that obligation where like, yeah, we got to keep going because if I don't do it, you know, you're obviously like a solopreneur. You don't have probably don't have multiple assistants and stuff. You probably have some virtual assistants, but it's hard to delegate that. You can't delegate the baby duties. I mean, your wife's probably got a schedule of when you're on.
So
Yeah.
I'm usually like she takes the day shift, she takes most of the day. It's full job. That's harder than being a super yacht captain, I'll
Oh
admit.
yeah,
Being a mom is
Oh yeah.
my hat
tough.
off to all of them. That's a tough job, very
Yeah,
demanding, more than any super yacht guest out there.
Yeah, the
yeah,
big thing too for females is the physical, hormonal change too.
yeah,
Like it's such a demand on females to go from pregnant to then having the baby, then the post, baby challenges, and then I don't know. I think we're very fortunate
It's
to have
tough.
kind of women in our lives that continue to push through those boundaries. And I don't know. I'm very blessed. They give me the freedom to be myself, and I'm like, what about you? So how do we give back to the people that support us the most? You know?
Right.
But anyway, what are the little things? We're talking a lot of these junior crew now. They're more aware of this work-life balance, and a lot of comments I'm getting, they're asking me, "What can we do?" And I always think just ask. You know,
Yeah,
I have this policy on the board the vessels I run is the questions are free. It's the
yeah,
answers that cost.
yeah,
So just make sure you know your question and be ready for the different answers because
yeah,
you may catch the head of department or the captain at a bad time and his answer
yeah,
may not be what you want.
yeah,
Uh, so just time your questions pretty well. But what's big for me is, like I said, uniform. Alex, you jumped in. We were talking about taking the uniform off, putting in clothes, going for a walk. So as soon as
yeah,
you knock off and your duties are complete, try and disconnect from the vessel. You
yeah.
know, maybe go and make a phone call quickly before dinner or put your dinner aside. What do you think, Captain Scott? What's kind of
Um,
rituals?
you know, for me, I encourage everybody along with myself to get off the boat, especially if you're at the dock and you have you're kind of at a 9 to 5 kind of regular day. I encourage everyone, especially when in a new area, just get off the boat and go for a walk. The work's going to be there when you get back.
Yeah.
Just you can't I mean, you can only power through for so long.
Yeah. And
And
we talked about the breathing exercises. We talked
yeah,
about disconnecting. Another one is, I know we're in social media now, but just that quick, don't just jump straight on the social media. Try and just
yeah,
take a 10-minute, read a book,
yeah.
refresh,
Read a book.
reset, have a shower, just trying to get they're kind of rituals or routines to help disconnect. What
Try
about
not to
Yeah,
you?
look at your phone. I try
yeah,
not to look at my phone first thing in the morning. I have my morning rituals, which I like to do.
yeah,
That's time I get to have with my son, have my coffee, do my breath work, if time allows. But when time doesn't allow, that's when you need to do your breath work, meditation the most, right?
yeah,
So I do try and get that in. What helps me fully switch off and clock out from work mode and the digital space, etc., is having a regular exercise routine. For me, I love
yes,
to go to Muay Thai, as we discussed before. That's where I have to hold in my focus. Nothing else matters when you step onto the mat, and that's just building yourself 100% for yourself. Everything gets pushed aside, which is fantastic for that hour and a half or so, or
yeah,
going for a run, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, getting that sweat out. It really helps clear that mental fog and gives you that endorphin rush as
Yeah,
well.
but what about the crew though? That we've all seen it. That wake up 5 minutes to start time
yeah.
and go into the fridge, grab a Red Bull at seven
Go
in the
straight
morning,
into
five in
work.
the morning, and get on
Phone.
deck. And then it's
Yeah,
go, go, go.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
there a way? And this is an open question to the audience as well. And Lenka's there, which is a wonderful person. She was chief stew on King Benji, and she's just run the New York Marathon. So hello,
whoa,
Lenka, congratulations.
nice.
But what are some tips that really we can give crew during their work hours? This is a challenge that will not distract them from their duties, but to give them space to breathe or find peace within that job.
I would say even, the phone is a big thing. Getting back to that is, don't pick it up first thing in the morning. Don't sit there at lunchtime looking at your phone. Maybe eat your lunch and go sit down, maybe read a book, go sit somewhere where you're allowed to on the boat, sit outside, anything, and then at nighttime, don't just stay on your phone until you go to bed because it's proven that that causes irregular sleep patterns and everything like that. And I know me personally, I have a morning routine and then I have a night routine as well. Like when I go to sleep, I always have like a book that I read. So I read for 5-10 minutes until my eyes get tired, and then I read like I have a declaration letter that I read to myself
Okay.
in the morning and in the evening, just kind of goal setting and stuff like that. And there's a morning routine, a book there's by a guy, Hal Elrod. It's called Miracle Morning. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but he recommends doing it's things called savers. It's called let's see if I can remember what they all are. I know I do them every morning, but it's silence, affirmations, what's the other ones? visualization, exercise, reading, and writing. So you do a little bit of that, but you do like 5 minutes of each. And instead of picking up the phone, you
Yeah.
know, and you can do it any version of it. You don't want your morning. I did it for a long time because I had to do a lot of work on myself, and the morning routine was getting too long, so I had to condense it down. It's like I'm gonna have to get up at 1 to
Oh,
get all this done. So
well, I
no
think
chance of
that
this
that's my
working.
point. The older we get, I think the longer it takes us to kind of get these things done, so we're mentally in the right space. Would you
Yeah,
agree with that, Alex, as well?
So I was just
That's all right.
writing down what could you repeat the question?
Silence, affirmations, visualization. Oh, there you go. Perfect, Alex.
exercise, reading, writing, and then scribe, writing and reading and scribing. Yeah,
No,
savoring.
I was saying, Alex, the older we get, the longer it seems to take us to get our mind
Yeah,
in, ready for the battles of the day. I don't know if anyone feels like that, but I'm like, I was up at 5 o'clock this morning. I'm like, all right,
Wow.
5 o'clock, cool. My kids are going to school 7:15. I got to do all these things.
yeah,
Bit of
yeah,
reading,
yeah,
bit of yoga, bit of silence, bit of
yeah,
meditation,
yeah,
throw
yeah.
some garbage out before it even, the 7 o'clock comes along. So yeah, I think it is important, but it's a challenge. But what about the junior crew? What have you seen, Alex? Because what I see is crew just burn out.
Yeah.
2 months, 3 months, 6 months, they just work, 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 have an issue, can't deal with the issue, poor leadership around them, and burn out.
Sometimes I think, from my personal experience when I was junior crew, it feels like you don't have anybody to go and speak to, anyone that you
Mhm.
can trust. Uh, Captain Liam and Scott, you guys seem like approachable captains who understand what the crew are going through. You have a little bit of, you've got that empathy. But other captains might make juniors feel like they have to always be on. They can't show any
Mhm.
weakness. They can't complain. They shouldn't ask questions. And I see that happening a lot. So my question to you guys is how how can crew approach you when they're going through a rough time without being perceived as poor workers or weak or you know needing to be replaced or fired? What would you tell them?
Well, that's good. I'll jump in, Captain Scott.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, no, go ahead.
point number two: setting boundaries without losing your jobs. That was the second pillar of this
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
challenge. The work-life
Nice.
balance. Point number two is setting boundaries without losing your job. So it's boundaries and attitudes. Boundaries, they create clarity. That is the most important thing. So you've got to establish what are those boundaries. If a crew member comes up to me at 5:15, for example, like I'm very specific in my life and what I do on board because I want to make sure the structure and the standards continue to improve, and that only happens with stability. So if a crew member comes to me at 5:15, I'll be like, "Cool, what's wrong? What's I've got all day. We're now
Yeah.
talking about my personal time, and I'm on the phone to my wife or the boss, or so that's to me. Don't knock on my cabin door unless it's a fire or we're sinking, because they're the two things that I'm
Yeah.
going to charging for. So I think it's the boundaries, Alex. For me, it's just know your boundaries, know when you can approach the cap. And I've got no problem at all, crew coming or texting or opening my door on the bridge and say, Cap, when you got 5 minutes, I'd love to have a chat. I'm like, cool,
Yeah.
12, 1:15, let's do this. And we'll allocate time. So, and then ask the questions. Do you mind if I use the Peloton bike on the boat? No problem. Make sure we're a team. Leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
So that's the boundaries. But that crew member has got to win. That crew member's got now space to feel
Mhm.
better about their jobs. Most times the answers are yes, because the captain understands the challenge. Would you agree, Scott? Captain Scott?
Yeah, I would agree, and I like what you said, referring back to just asking the question, but make sure it's an appropriate time, just don't go, bang on the captain's door at 9 o'clock at night if you want to talk about your vacation time or whatever. Or, I had one guy, I had COVID, and he knocked on my door. It was lunchtime, and I had slept that day. I was staying away from the crew, and I slept for probably 4 hours during the day because I was just out of it. He knocked on my door, and I thought, like you, boat's on fire.
Yeah.
anchor, whatever, anchor's
We
dragging
go
or
to
whatever.
worst case.
Whatever. Even though we're tied to the dock, I was thinking anchor drag because I was
Yeah.
completely out of it.
Yeah.
And then says, "Hey, Cap, but I got this receipt for you," and I'm like, "Hmm, well, that's nice."
Yeah, great people.
As
So
captains,
boundaries. That is definitely one. But asking the right question, just ask the question.
Yeah.
If you need the space.
Well, one thing I've learned, I've just done the crew coach Kareen Racin's course, the foundational leadership, which I
Oh,
think is
cool.
really a good course without even going into the advanced leadership. And it taught the first chapter, and shout out to Kareen, was about the different styles of leadership. And you go through 6 different styles from kind of dictatorship to kind of confrontational or controlling and different styles. But at the very end, it says you actually need to adjust your leadership style based on the situation and the
Yeah.
person. And I read that after chapter 1, and I'm like, I've been wrong my whole life. I always
wow.
Yeah.
thought one leadership style was applicable to the whole crew,
Hmm.
Ah,
but it's not. It's
No, it's not.
and
Yeah.
people look different things from you. I know some crew now look at me and they want this positive, happy, don't get involved in the work conversations, and some crew want the hard, strong, be tough
Yeah.
one. I want to focus on my career, where someone wants lifestyle. So it's even harder now as a captain, I think.
Yeah. Because every crew member is a nuanced approach based on that and on them and the dynamic between the two of you. It's funny that because I read this book by Jocko Willink. It was the dichotomy of leadership. And it was said the similar things. It's like, some people, after you've told them once, you said, I don't like to micromanage, but maybe they didn't get it. Maybe you got to hang out with them a little bit and make sure that they communicate. Here's how I want it done, 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 and
Yeah,
like that. And then you leave them. Or some people, like you said, they want you on. They need the hard case, and other people like you're going to get offended if you hang around them too long. But I always tell people that, look, I don't want to micromanage you because if I have to micromanage you, then there's no reason for either of us to be in this situation, and one of us is probably going to need to go.
yeah.
Probably not going to be me, but so we need to kind of figure out how we can do this and make you understand what the actual clear communication is that needs to be for you to get what your duties are.
Yeah, true. So they're the boundaries we're talking about is setting boundaries without losing your job. Just go to your heads of department first, go to other heads of department, go to the cap, have open communication. But we want to talk about work-life balance. So we want to talk about, we talked about burnout. What about retention? So, I'll go to you, Alex, first. What's your top things you've seen in the industry? Because you've kind of got a bigger, no disrespect, Cap Scott, is a finger on the pulse
Hmm.
from a broader range of vessels, I would say, than myself and Captain Scott.
Yeah, most
You see
definitely.
a lot of crew, Alex, and you're a very, transparent, approachable person. So what's kind of 3 or 4 retention techniques that you've seen crew really resonate with, that helps them kind of create that stability in their work and their life, that look better, look happier, you know?
well, one, you've got to be a good fit for the team. I noticed that each vessel has a different personality, right? Every vessel seems to have their personality, their way of doing things. That all stems down from the top at the end of the day. So hiring, captains or head of departments will usually hire somebody that fits into that personality. They have similar personality traits, and that's what I see. You get longer longevity. I also think that if you have a leader that sets the boundaries early, and that's what I wanted to ask you guys, it's like if you could tell, say you have an induction with junior crew, or you're doing a course with junior crew, and they want to both impress the captain and not piss them off. What advice would you give to them to, like, if you had to have a sit down with them and say, this is what we like, this is a standard set of rules that can apply to everywhere on board, and this is what we don't like, because a lot of them have no clue. A lot of them are young, they've never worked in a professional setting, and the only way they learn is by failing, and sometimes they get terminated for making a mistake. You know, they're trying to fit in, they're trying to mold themselves or adapt to the ways of the vessel, um, but maybe they just don't get it. So how can
Yeah,
they bridge that gap faster? Know what they shouldn't do and what they should do straight off
well,
the bat.
read Erica Lay's book, Super Yacht Life: How to Succeed and Stay Sane. That's that's a good one. But every vessel's, like you say, Alex. It's a good point about retention and work-life balance. Is find the right fit, find your tribe. But I don't think it's a captain's role, and I don't know if I'm being too vulnerable saying this, but it's not really a captain's role to make sure every junior crew fits in and has the perfect path in their life.
That's
Our
never going to
job is
happen.
to employ
No.
professionals that are paid to do a job and succeed at that job, and our job is to keep them safe and keep them training. I think it's more of the crew around them, from the junior stews to the deck crew to the engineers, to create that crew culture that can then say, look, it's really not acceptable just to put your dirty coffee cup in the sink and walk away. That shouldn't
What
happen.
I've noticed is that people won't tell them straight up. They will rather go around the side and
Do
and
behind the back.
do it behind their back. So this person has no idea that they're doing anything wrong. 'Cause it's their first day or whatever,
Yeah.
and then everyone starts talking behind their back. Then all of a sudden, boom! It's like, sorry, you're just not working out. But they were never told in the first place. I've received a lot of that. And sometimes I can tell from crew that they have an attitude problem, or they speak back the whole time, or
Yeah.
they question the authority on a consistent basis. I see that doesn't, play out well for that crew member. Eventually they do learn, and eventually they like, okay, let me just keep quiet, listen to what he has to say, do it in his or her way. Um, yeah, that's what I
What,
see that works.
I think, if you're coming into any new situation, I know one thing that I always focused on is listening and observing and just kind of seeing how people operate and kind of see what people's personalities are, see who's who, see what's what, kind of see what the dynamic is before and never, it's never really good for you to talk back unless somebody's being highly offensive to you, that you set your boundary and say, hey, you're not allowed to speak to me that way, and that kind of thing. But I think if you just listen and observe for a little bit, you'll see that you don't see any coffee cups in the sink. Probably not good to put a dirty one in there. Just a little
yeah.
bit of common sense, but if you observe, and then you really want to talk to start ease into it and talk to people, talk to the heads of department first, or your other crew members, and about what you're thinking, but don't overstep. Just I would say for the first week, just listen and observe, see how everything goes, and if you're the right fit for it, you'll see where you fit in with the crew and stuff,
True.
It'll
but
eventually mold.
Yeah, here's a good someone. Juds01 has said, from the captain from the start, I've worked with a captain that nips that behaviour in the butt from the start. So for us heads of department, it makes it easier to lay down the rules. Junior crew easily fall in line, but it comes from the captain at the start. So that's great advice.
yeah,
And maybe I
okay.
should do more of that.
Yeah, I should probably do that.
You and I are pretty approachable, nice people,
Yeah,
Scott,
yeah,
and I'm not known to be hard in terms of my specific details. I'm more hard in terms of the standard and the long-term
yeah,
goal.
yeah,
And, we're alike, but I think a lot of captains, even Alex, that are really tough and say, don't put the coffee in the sink, put it there. That's
yeah,
advice, and there's a place for that. But that
yeah,
leadership style sometimes may also fall out of alignment when they're too tough on things like holidays or
yeah,
days off, or so that everyone's a little bit different. I kind of think from the start is just the onboarding process in yachting for me is embarrassing. You know,
yeah,
it's not professional, and we pride ourselves in trying to have the best standard. But when we look at it structurally or corporately, Alex, we don't have a good onboarding standard that says you are going to
right.
be trained for the first 7 days of your job. And
Hmm.
day one, we're going to do safety familiarization, and then we're going to do watch keeping duties. Day two, you're going to be shadowed in all the permits to work and working aloft and crane operations. Sign off. Day three, we're going to do familiarization in different departments and requirements, then tenders, then five, and so forth. Contracts, medical insurance.
Yeah.
That's where I think we fall short is our onboarding processes. Bags there, your uniform's there. See you out in 5 minutes. Have a rest on
Yeah.
your way out. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. We're leaving. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah,
Got your passport? All right, let's go.
yeah. I mean, you see here, Maritime for Mental Health is saying, what is it? You don't know what you don't know. So some things do just need to be said.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Fair.
You know,
Fair.
What's a question? What's a question you wished more newcomers would ask you? Captain Scott, you want to go first?
A question they asked me, I would say just, you know, come up and maybe start a conversation and say, hey, what are your expectations? You know, I wish they would because it's tough for me to do that, especially a junior crew, because I expect that come from the leadership positions in there. But if they do ask me, I will say, well, I expect you, to be on time. I expect you to
yeah,
to follow the lead of the chief officer, and clean up after yourself. Make sure everything's tidy. Make sure you know all the safety equipment on the boat. Take the time in your spare time to walk around. And if you're not sure about these things, please ask us. If you want any one of us to walk you around and refresh, let's do it. I would love that. Sometimes I think they feel like I know most people on the boat know that they can come to me or what have you. I'm sure it's the same thing with you, Captain Liam. I get
I tell them be careful. Careful what you wish for,
yeah,
people.
it depends. Only not after five though. Not after five.
No, I'm here to support. Like I'm honest with you. I'm not tough like that. I'm always an open book. I just want to be positive. It doesn't have to all be work.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if you want to ask me how to do the laundry, I'm not a laundry expert. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I'm not an engineer.
yeah,
I know a lot about a lot, and I'm very
yeah,
blessed to have an open mind and keep willing to learn.
yeah,
But you're really, like the team we build is the value. We need to protect the island. So
yeah.
I have my standards. But what I would say, Alex, to answer the question is, I wish people would come up and say, what upsets you? You
Mm.
know?
Great
Pet
question.
And
peeves.
if I
Yeah,
if
pet
I would
peeves.
ask, like I know now my engineer of 9, 10 years, I know what upsets him because I can see it in his eyes, but we've had these honest moments with each other. And I know the chief stew, I know the chief officer, I know what can upset them. But that's from lessons over time. I wish people would just say, listen, Captain Scott, what really upsets you? And you might say, just don't slam the doors, please. Please don't slam
Yeah.
the doors. And because that upsets me when I hear a door
Oh yeah.
slam, I'm like,
It's loud.
please respect the boat, please. Like,
Yeah.
so, and then I look at the crew member who does it for a year, and I'm like, how do you keep slamming the doors? And he's like, I didn't know it was a problem. I'm like, well, that's on me. That's my problem.
Yeah.
I should have been more clear, but I wish crew would ask that to each other. What upsets you? What upsets you? What upsets you? All on the table now. Let's go to work.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, what's your expectation and what pisses you off? Two powerful questions
Yeah.
that can make you go a long way. Great. I must say, like sometimes it can be very intimidating to approach head of a department or a captain, especially. So just wanted you guys to keep that in mind and all other captains out there. And
Yeah.
oftentimes it's miscommunication. They just like. One of the guys in the chat says, "You don't know what you don't know. If you knew better, you would have done better, right?"
Yeah.
So, what else? What else do you guys have to
Well,
add?
there's one thing that I learned from a guy that I worked for a while back, and he's kind of like a mentor for me because he said something to me that resonated with me that got me through a lot of tough situations and things I was uncomfortable with. He said, the most difficult conversation is the one you need to have first. So if something's really on you, you need to get it out and speak to somebody about it.
Yeah, yeah. And it doesn't mean the whole crew have to know your
No,
baggage.
it doesn't mean you blast it out. You just, pull somebody aside, or hey, talk to the guy that's taking out the trash with you, whoever.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. You
yeah.
know, once you get it out, you'll get the weight off and it'll be easier. Because there's that saying that if it's mentionable, it's manageable.
True. That's a very good one. If it's mentionable, it's manageable. And a lot of times, I think people forget captains, we're not here to create problems. We're here
Mhm.
to help solve problems. But
Mhm.
the confidentiality of being a captain is the utmost, to me,
Mhm.
respect that you can have. So when crew need someone to talk to, you're better off not just talking to your cabin mate or
Yeah,
talking to another crew member who's going to tell another crew member. And your problem now becomes the boat's problem. And the chief,
yeah,
if someone tells me the problem, I don't need to know. But
yeah.
unless it affects your work and safety. But if you wanted to speak to someone, most captains will listen and not do anything. I
Mhm.
believe they'll take the information, they'll understand it, and say, "Wow, thanks for sharing. How can I help?
Yeah.
Can we
I,
schedule some time off, or do you want to check in a month, or I know that's you're not liking the uniform or whatever the problem is. Sometimes going to the captain and just addressing your problem directly is the most efficient way to do things. You know?
yeah, and
When
it's
does it become too much? Have
Oh,
you ever gotten crew that just complain constantly about?
if they're complaining, I've told crew members don't come in here and about complaining about somebody else. What have you done to solve the problem?
yeah, they're measurable steps. So I'm just talking about stuff like either medically, Alex, or
Yeah,
Right.
time off, or instead of sitting in a crew mess going, I don't have any time off. I've got now 2 weekends in a row on watch, or whatever the problems are. Just come to the cap on the bridge and have that chat and say, I feel, it's because I've dealt with pretty much most medical issues now in my career, especially on expedition yachts. Like Captain Scott's been to Alaska, and I've dealt
yeah.
with pregnancies, and I've had couples on board for 6 months, and I'm going to every country going for a pregnancy, X-ray and ultrasound. I've dealt with these medical emergencies, and I'm just broken feet in Cuba, broken ankles, and I'm like, cool, man, we can handle all this. Let's just
Yeah,
be honest about it,
yeah,
and make it a journey. Have a bit of not fun with it because it's a broken ankle, but this is
yeah,
part. You're going to remember this, and you're going to laugh at this one day. But
yeah.
let's be open about this.
That's funny you mention that because when we were in Alaska, we had one guy, crew member, he cut his foot and he stitched it up himself.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. So sorry about that, Cap.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry
his
about that, Cap.
splicing
So,
skills
so
came in
it
handy.
was like, you don't need to tell me sorry. Are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm sorry. I'm messed up. We had to stop for a minute, and I'm like,
Cool. Yeah.
no,
I
it
don't
was
know, but the other
big-hearted
thing,
kid.
what are the key things retention wise? We talk about rotation. So Captain Scott's on rotation. That's a big one. These junior crew need to look for these things because we're talking about a work-life balance, and we've talked a lot about work. So what's the other side of it? The other side is family, friends, vacations, that balance. How do people have that in an interview process, for example? Like how I'm coming to you, Scott, and are you presenting me the contract that I accept? Or is there room to have an honest conversation and say, look, I really can't do 38 days off. I can do a little bit less money, but I need 5 months on, 1 month off. I need 60 days off a year.
Well, it all depends. The schedule matters on the boat too, where we can work it in, but also there's going to be certain parameters that they got to be there for a little bit to get more to request those because I think we all got to prove each other that we're the right fit for each other
Yeah.
as well. There's that too, but I always ask people like in the beginning, like, are there any events that are going on
Yeah.
in the beginning that you can't miss that I need to know about now that maybe we can make arrangements for ahead of time so that
That's really nice of
we
you.
can
Oh, that's
preempt
cool.
that because I want you to be able to know that you're not going to just miss everything. Because I've missed a lot. I know Captain Liam, Alex, you guys have missed a lot of stuff, and I know it's very important to me. So I want them to know that, hey, let me know ahead of time. So if it's 3, 4, 6 months, or it's a month from now, and it's something that you know, you wouldn't take the job because you were going to go to that wedding, or,
Yeah.
you know, something was going on with your dad, or what have you, then something like that is good. And then, you know, maybe, you know, make them work it off after, or what have you. You know, we can make arrangements and make sure, you know, that the crew package, a lot of the other things, the intangibles, the things that are not necessarily in the pay package and everything else, like just things like that, like allow them to take time off to see something, or an event comes up, hey, get in some relief crew or something for those people, they need some time off, you know.
Yeah.
Make sure that when you check in with them, that they're checking in at home with their families or girlfriends or whoever, you know, hey, why don't you have your girlfriend come out? You know, if granted, if it's been a long term relationship, come out and, you know, spend a few days. You still got to work. We still got a packed schedule, but at night you go, you guys hang out and go check out the place. You know,
Yeah.
and then hey, come back with some cool stories of all the places you've been, because maybe you found some stuff that we didn't know about. You know, things like that I think are intangibles that they know that they can still have a life, you know. And the rotations are good. It's harder with the junior crew, you know, with, you know, three and one, 5 and 1 kind of things. But until you get to like the heads of department, they usually haven't put in enough time to get the
Yeah.
rotation, or what have you, you know. And then it all really depends on the schedule, but you can always fit it in,
Yeah.
especially
True.
if it's especially if it's important for that person, you know. And I'm never one to really dock somebody, and I always make sure and tell them, like, after we're done with the trip, I'm going to try to get you some days off where everyone is off the boat and gets away from each other, because I'm
Yeah.
a big proponent of everyone getting off the boat. If I see somebody just hanging around the crew mess all the time, they'll get off the boat.
Your time's
You
up, did
need,
I?
you need to stop hanging around here. I mean, find something to do. I
You're
mean, you're
wearing the
young.
furniture out, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So a couple of shouts
Rotation.
out. Alex
Oh,
at Grand Yacht Crew. I think Alex Seeger's Grand Yacht Crew just joined, and he's got a great platform. I don't know if you saw that there, Alex, but Alex at Grand Yacht Crew joined, and Pete Hill, who's a great crew agent for engineers and different people as well. He just joined, so hello to both them. But the other
how's
thing
it going, guys?
I wanted to bring out that so many people stick on their boat, and there's a lot of value to your own tribe, Alex. There's a lot of value to find the right tribe. But also, don't be afraid to connect with these other programs that are now
Hmm.
being offered around you, like morning hikes and activities.
Yeah,
Say, like, I always, when I go somewhere, I see the other boat. Yep, cool. How's things? Yeah, like, what are you guys up to? Or you want to catch up for a barbecue, or beers on the
yeah,
dock, or I'm going for a walk. Just try and break the boundaries down. And the reason I do that is because there is people on that boat struggling. Every
yeah.
boat has people struggling. Every boat,
Hmm.
but it takes a team to find them. So sometimes when you're talking to other crews, you're actually helping them reach out of their network. And this is kind of what Check-in Tuesday is about, is to ask people, how are they? Have a chat to the boat next door. If you're seeing red flags or you're seeing
Yeah,
burnout, you might be able to reach out to some safety groups that we've got. What's up? There's Ice One. There's, Yachty Minds Matter. There's a lot of different networks, and it's not about ratting people out. It's about keeping people safe, and that's the most important thing: is how to keep crew safe. Because once it
hmm,
goes past that, we see what happens. It's an
yeah,
incident physically, or it's maybe damage to the vessel from a fire, or heaven forbid, something that's happened through to fatigue. So we're a community out here, which is important.
yeah.
Is
I
I
Super
guess
think,
Your
these
Girl
days.
there? Wonderful to see you. Super Your Girl, I hope you're in Antigua this year. One of the great brokers from Europe. What else have you got, Alex? Real talk?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, like you said, Captain Liam, there's a lot of great resources out there. It's a good time to be alive. It's a good time to be in this industry now. And also, I see rotation on board is growing in popularity and it's becoming more of a necessity. Still, there's a lot of boats without it. But what's your take on rotation um, for the industry?
I
You know?
think it's got its place. Like, it's an absolute no-brainer for retention.
hmm,
But different owners have different economic goals, and different owners have different preferences, whether it's private or charter. I know if I owned a yacht, I'd want to see Captain Scott every day. You know, I'd want to hear that breath work, and I'd want to see Alex. And Alex and I would go to water sports and diving. So
Yeah.
you can't change that personal desire. But if you're a charter program or even a private program, find the times off. Like rotation isn't just time for time. Rotation is sometimes, okay, 6 months on, 6 months off, 5 months on, 1 month off. So it's just about that statement of finding the right balance. So I'm all for it. I think it's a great tool for retention for owners and crew.
How can we motivate this to more owners? You know, because this could be the core reason for burnout on board and toxic environments for people just burnt out and pissed off with each other
Well,
after spending so much time together.
one argument I've made to other people trying to build rotation programs for them is for other captains and stuff is just explain it to the owner this way. Like, look, normally you have the captain on board, by himself, and he's probably going to end up taking off or getting off maybe up to 3 months a year, right? So there's that time when he's not there. So you have on rotation, you have a dedicated person there 365 days a year that's responsible to be in there. So you're really getting that extra 3 months. So you're actually getting two people for a little bit more than what you would. And then that person is never going to burn out. The other person won't, burn out either. And what I've also noticed is on the yachts is that you have to structure it so say Captain Liam, you've been on your program 3+ years, 4 years, maybe something like that, right?
Yep.
If you brought in a rotation guy, he's probably still going to want to deal with you only because he already knows you. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of be the lead. So it kind of is structured that way because he's already comfortable with you, and we kind of have that built into our program because the other captain Scott has been there much longer than I, and he deals with him with a lot of other things. So I was kind of always recommending that because then then it kind of can be seamless for him because when you don't really want to have two people, because with commercial you're dealing with a company and you have certain hierarchy and it goes a certain way. If both of us are dealing with the boss, it could get a little sketchy just because it might be misinterpreted by the way we each communicate things, and then we're both in trouble, and it could get
No
pretty bad.
consistency.
No consistency. So I've always tried to say that no matter what, you want to make it so that granted, there's going to be nuances in the differences or leadership styles, but you want to make sure that the program overall, I step on, he steps off, he steps on, I step off. It doesn't really matter. We keep
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
and that's
Super true.
something that if we can express that to them, that they can use the boat more if you have people on rotation.
True, but what about the junior crew? Like, because I always kind of go back to that building of teams and leadership and all that. What's the junior crew must be going? Okay, another captain, another style. And although
Yeah.
you and Scott, I'm sure, are very similar, and I have no doubt in both your abilities and personalities are wonderful. But I'm sure there's a lot of programs out there, Alex, that you may have heard of that one captain's approachable and the other's not.
Yeah.
So how does they're both happy because they've got rotation, and the boss is happy.
Yeah.
He doesn't hear any problems coming to him.
Yeah.
But then puts the crew in a position where you've got two different leadership styles, very different. How do they manage that? Because this is about the work-life balance. How do the junior crew, most of the industry, 70% of the industry are probably non-rotation. How do they survive that?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
That is a good question.
Yeah, I couldn't answer that. If anybody else here is in the chat could answer that,
Yeah.
please let us
I
know.
I I
But
don't
I can
know.
imagine you got one boss that's a tyrant, and then you got the other that's like the cool one. You know, obviously you can breathe with the cool one, and with the tyrant, you're under super pressure. So
Yeah. Well,
that's what I would
Super, your girl said she
put.
was second stewardess. So if you've got any advice there under rotational heads of department, what was your kind of survival techniques that you went through? Because you're talking about heads of department, which is probably even more difficult than
Yeah,
captain.
because you're right on top. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
right there on top of you.
Let us know, Steve York Girl, if you've got any advice there. So we're moving right along because we can only get an hour as it kicks us off. I want to talk about one thing which I think is interesting: faith. on yachts. I think the older that I get, the more kind of faith I may have that things are positive and, the world's in a good place, or, good people, good things
Yeah.
happen to good people. I've never seen in my time place for faith.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I saw it once in the Panama Canal when a pilot started praying to the east, and it really just threw me off. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't get this. Is there a place for faith in yachting? And
Yes.
how do we provide that to crew with making them feel comfortable and empowered? Is that something that we encourage, or do we say every Sunday there's a church, go down the road, if you need a space, we can make it for you? I've never had that conversation.
And
It's
because of
not.
the diverse cultures on board,
Yeah.
there could be different religious beliefs.
Yeah.
So it
Lots.
could get funny. Some people are very sensitive about their religion, and some
Well.
people just don't understand each other's religion. So that
Yeah.
is an interesting question.
Yeah. It really is, because I mean, I know for me, my faith and all that stuff is I expect it to be like everyone else. It's a very personal thing, and you don't want to step on somebody's beliefs, or like Alex was mentioning there, that sometimes things are misinterpreted or what have you. But I'd be all for anybody of any religion, if they're, provided they're not hurting anybody. If they want to take a moment, have a prayer, have a meditation, have a what have you, or hey, I need to go to church tomorrow. Hey, go for it. You
Yeah.
know, I might go with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can, if the place doesn't burn down, if I can go in there, that's
Let me
fine.
in. Let me.
They let me in. I'm good. I mean, I've been known to go to. I went to church in Portofino, and I lit a few candles for some people that had passed. I mean, I've done that a few times here and there whenever I make it a point to, if I'm thinking about somebody. But I'd be all for it, because I think we need a little more. We probably need a little more of that.
Yeah, I think so. And it helps connect people too. Like, I know a lot of different crews I've worked with have faith, but they never show it, meaning they
Hmm.
never practice it. So I think it's important as leaders in the industry, we at least have the conversation. And I
Yeah,
think it's Melanie from Marathon Mental Health here has written that she would always attend a service. Oh, sorry, Xanthi Ilian.
yeah,
She would always attend a service, if nothing else, to feel grounded. Sometimes she went on her own. That's what for me too, I
yeah,
check out the different churches. And, my father always said, may the God you believe in you. And
yeah.
like, my
Nice.
faith is all right. Whatever you believe is up there, let's work together. Let's not have
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
let's not have bad energy, people.
yeah.
Let's keep positive, because at sea, we need all the help and all the prayer,
Hey,
faith.
hey, I don't know anyone the same thing like anybody. I don't know any non-religious people in a foxhole or in a hurricane. So, hey,
Yeah, that's actually true. In
you
worst
know who's
situations,
control.
everyone needs faith. Like,
Yeah,
everyone pray. Times get real tough.
yeah.
Life run. So we're going to start towards wrapping it up, but we need real talk and real tools. So you don't need the perfect balance. A balance doesn't mean that you 80% work and 20% private life. The balance is more about how can you constantly feel good, feel better each day. How are you making positive steps in the right direction? That's to me what balance means. Does that make sense, Kat and Alex?
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
am I growing? Question yourself. Make those notes that Captain Scott said. He writes down those notes or the affirmations in the morning. Am I growing? Am I going down a better path?
Yeah.
Don't wait for the burnout. Plan for it. That's a
Yeah.
tip that I've kind of come up with is, I know this crew on this charter are going to be burnt out. It is a fact.
Yeah.
How do I plan for that? How do I see it? How do I execute it in myself? And how do I do it within the team I have around me, and talk openly about it? Set boundaries once a week is a big one. Always set the boundaries around people. There's an opt-out policy in a lot of meetings now. When you do not have to answer. You can say, I am not comfortable with this conversation. Can we reschedule with someone else, or with someone, with another time space, if that makes any sense. So the opt-out policy, set the boundaries. The other one is choose a personal non-negotiable. Meaning, choose something that once a week that you want to do. Whether you want to go to the church, whether you want to read a book, whether you want to stop scrolling, whether you want to take beds. Replace the scrolling with learning. Is a big one for me. And don't always have to answer the phone. That's my final notes on it, is you don't always have to answer the phone. It's taken me, I think, 25 to 28 years professionally to realize that that phone call, I can get a message now. My voicemail will take that, and I'll come back and I'll say, cool, I can speak to you later. I need to have quality time with the person I'm speaking to. So I always say men can't multitask. Women can, men can't. One person, one effort at a time. What's your takeaways, Captain Scott and then Alex?
Well, like you said, the multitasking, that's been disproven that's just us jumping from one thing to the next. So
Yeah.
be present with the people that are around you. Listen. One thing I always say, a lot of my videos is be clear, be grateful, and listen. Just make sure you focus on adding value to the rest of the crew, and that'll help everyone else. It'll take a lot longer for them to burn out if everyone's together.
Well,
Awesome.
I think reflect on that. Be clear, be present, be
Be grateful, and listen.
So
clear, be
ultimately,
grateful, and listen.
Yeah.
ultimately, it's about forming good habits, and we've mentioned so many great habits here. Forming good habits, becoming their slave instead of being slave to addiction or bad habits, and building it slowly, one step at a time. Habit stacking, maybe tomorrow I can just focus on meditation and breath work for 2 minutes, and then the next day I'll try and aim for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Then after that, maybe I can add another good habit to that. It depends on how severe your burnout is and how much you need to adjust to the new situation. I'll say form good habits, become a slave, and just keep building on that.
Wise words, gentlemen. I think you helped me more than I could ever help anyone else. Listening to you two is really, I think it's inspirational. I love it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Sometimes
Thank
I
you, Captain Liam.
things and I'm like,
yeah.
I got
Thank
so
you.
love,
I can honestly say I get a lot out of these, and I look forward to it, and I look forward to a lot more because I'm hoping that we reach a few people that need to hear these words that I probably didn't listen to when I was younger.
Yeah, I definitely didn't, and I'm kind of the goal is to give back and create transparency, and check-in Tuesday is a huge part of that. So, without further ado, I'm going to try and check out and then check in with my family. But thank you for listening. Next week, I'm potentially going down the path of environmental sustainability because that's huge for me. And I think crew members, if we focus on the world around us, then the world, in our short term around us, I mean, in the environment rather than the space, I think we can distract our teams and give a little bit back. So feel free to join me. If you want to talk about something else, I'm always open as well. So drop it in the comments below. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Scott. Be safe, be blessed as always.
Thank you, Captain Liam, for continuing to push such a great program here.
I don't know what the program is.
Gratitude to you.
I just want to give back. I've been given a lot in my life, and Mother Ocean and Papa Time have looked after me. So the more I can help others, the better I feel too.
Grateful for both of you. Cheers.
Thanks,
See you,
guys.
everyone. Thanks for checking in.
All right.